And I think that's what we try to pride ourselves. Like the past championships, all that tells you is like we are capable of doing it. Doesn't mean we're going to do it this year, but we're capable. So we have to work just that much harder to get back to the top of the mountain. And we don't know where the ceiling is. You know, a lot of times we get to that mountain, there's that cliche of like we get to the top, but we're kind of sometimes get the heads in the clouds and you don't know what the true peak is.
Welcome back to Building a Champion, the podcast where we dive into what it takes to create winning programs and build a culture of excellence in athletics. Today, we are talking about a truly historic accomplishment. The Pittsburgh State Gorillas just did something that hasn't been done in 16 years, winning both the men's and women's NCAA Division II outdoor track and field national championships in the same season. And not only that, but Pitt State has been absolutely dominant in recent years. The men's team just won their third straight NCAA outdoor title and their sixth national championship overall. The women's team claiming their second national title, putting up 100 points to leave the competition way in the dust. Joining us today, the man leading that charge, we've got head coach Kyle Rutledge on with us. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This should be fun. Look forward to it.
Yeah, first off, congratulations. What an unbelievable season. Winning one national championship, rare, two in the same season. That's legendary.
Well, you get a good group of kids together and great coaches. I mean, again, it's the same cliche, but you're right. It was a whole lot of fun. We're still trying to soak it in and then try to move on and see what we can do this year.
Walk us through those championship meets. What were the key moments that helped both teams take home the titles?
You know, it was really just building momentum and making sure we had enough bullets in the gun. I mean, that's something that we live by, is making sure that, you know, no, every national championship is not going to go perfect. So as long as you have enough bullets in the gun, you can keep firing. You can build momentum from one to the next. And we really try to develop our team to be balanced across the board. So when you have Olivia Vanderwide winning national title in javelin for a freshman, I mean, that's a huge momentum booster when she was the last one into national. So nobody even expected her to score a point. And then she goes off and wins the thing. I mean, that just catapults our women into, we're going to go win this thing. But what also helped is, you know, indoors, our women lost by 2.5 points. And I'll tell you, they were extremely motivated after that indoor national title because, you know, we came into the thing. I think the women had a feeling they didn't really believe they had a shot. Us coaches knew, but they didn't realize it until it was actually the 4x4 was like, we had an opportunity and we just kind of let it slip away. So that catapulted those women into saying, we're going to go win this thing in outdoor. So their demeanor, their attitude, all of outdoor was pure determination of what they wanted to do at the national championship. So that was just kind of fun to be around. The men, you know, coaching men, they're just a different breed sometimes. They know when to crank it on, and a lot of times it's trying to motivate them at practice because they're just a competitive nature. So we weren't too worried about the men. That we knew we had the talent and we knew we had the right kind of guys that they'll crank it up when they need to. And we were just fortunate to have a lot of talent. So it was two different dynamics we were going into outdoor nationals and how to manage that, the emotions, the energy, and trying to make sure you're coaching each team differently on getting them ready. So it was a lot of fun because of that. All those reasons, trying to get them ready and how the different course we had to take as a coaching staff to prepare them mentally and physically to get them there.
You mentioned those emotions. What were the emotions like when both teams were able to clinch it? I imagine it was chaotic.
It was just exhilarating, and you're emotional. You're trying to process it all. I mean, there's so much going on that you really don't sit back and fully realize what just happened until the car ride home. And, you know, I like to drive myself. I mean, because I like on those way home, I can think about everything. I can process what really happened. And so that's when it really sank in. You know, I was just excited in the moment for the team and the coaches, and just being able to do it is exciting, but you don't really fully process what just happened until you can decompress and think about all the moments and how it transpired. And that's when it really sank in. It was pretty special.
So one question from me, maybe on the micro, you mentioned that young woman, the freshman that won the javelin. What do you think was that flipped the switch? Was it mental? Was it physical? You said she barely qualified and then she went out to win. Right? What happened?
Well, if you ever watch a javelin, you catch one, you catch an air pocket, you just hit that thing right. And we always knew she had the talent. She got a cannon for an arm, and being a freshman, you're always learning throughout the whole year. You're trying to figure out how to be a college athlete as a freshman, and then how to manage all those. So the whole year as a coaching staff, we're just trying to continue to build and keep learning the whole way. And we don't put a lot of pressure on our freshmen. Our goal is to, as a freshman, come in and learn. Don't worry about placing. I don't want you to worry about mark. I want you learning. I want you growing. I want you to understand how to work hard and understand the culture and what this program's about and how to be a college athlete and then how to train at a high level. And so I think when we look at that, it allows them to relax and not be stressed out about having to score points and having to do certain things. And I think what allowed her to do that is going into a national championship, being carefree. And then when she caught it, she caught it. And that thing took off, and it surprised her. It surprised us as coaches. We knew she had it, but then when she really did, we're like, oh, man, she got it. So all those things, like going into it, I think the course of the year allowed her to peak at the right time and just be carefree and mentally and physically just allowing her body to do what she's physically capable of.
The men's team won 4 individual event national titles and scored across 10 different disciplines. That kind of depth is rare. How were you able to develop a roster that could compete at such a high level across so many events?
Well, that's how I look as a head coach. We have to be balanced, and I have to have big hitters. I've got to make sure we keep momentum. So when I'm recruiting and looking at kids, yes, hurdles are the big part of it, but also the sprints. And then when we're looking at going into the mile, and then the 4x1 leads off the day. So making sure we have the people in place to build momentum, because when you're at a national championship, you have to have momentum in every single event. And that's how we kind of look at things. How I want to build a program is I want that 4x1 to get off to a hard start, and then it goes into the mile, and then you've got the 100, and then you've got the hurdles. And so it allows that momentum to continue to build throughout the meet. And the other side is if you have a down meet, like something doesn't go right, you have the next one to bounce back. And so you're never able to focus on the negative because you're already saying, hey, next person up. And then it allows, if you have something good like the hurdles winning national title from Daly Williams, that just catapulted into the 100-meter, and then that catapulted into the mile, and then it allowed the throwers to take off, and then the pole vault. And so it allowed all of us to get that momentum going. And we firmly believe you have to have momentum in a national championship. And so when I'm recruiting, those are things I'm looking at, and that's why we want to be balanced, because I don't want to have a really high in the hurdles, and then we're waiting, an hour for the next event that we have to run, because then your energy's kind of gone. And so all those things that we kind of are taking in consideration, building a program and trying to make sure that we're putting ourselves in position for national championship.
Now, on the women's side, hitting 100 points in the championship meet, it's just insane. What were some of the biggest factors in the women's team dominating the competition?
Oh man, those women were just driven from top to bottom. It was a freight train, and we just knew get out of their way. I mean, when you started with, Blakely Wynn, the multis, and Maddie Flay, and how they got the weekend going of scoring, I think it was 12, 13 points. And then our 4x1 right there, just getting edged out to win a national title. Then you have Olivia Vanderwide in the javelin, and our high jumpers, what Erica Schammel was able to do. And then you look at our triple jump, how we went 1-2 in the triple with Anna Childress and Taylor Nellums. I mean, all those factors allowed it to build. And then our pole vault women going 2-3 with Belle Peters and Kyla Davis. All those things were a big factor. Those girls went in and said, we're not going to be afraid of anybody, and we're not backing down. And that's what was, you just watch those events across the board. And it was a whole lot of fun. I mean, those women just, I'll be honest, we got into the meet, and me, Coach Crow, Coach Mantude, Coach Barrows, we just said, get out of their way. We didn't really talk to them a whole lot. I just said, go do your thing.
So that is great. Maybe to take a step back related to that though, you're talking about recruiting, and I assume you want to have certain traits and your student athletes, right? So what are you looking for? Because you guys have obviously on both sides of the program, have built great men's and women's teams, but what traits are you looking for when you're bringing in people for recruiting?
There's a lot of factors, to be honest with you, and I'm pretty a hard recruiter. I want to make sure I'm looking for the right personality. One, you have to have the talent, of course. That's a given. I always live by the motto of like, you can't take a donkey to the Kentucky Derby, so you better have your horse, right? So you first have to find that, and in Division II, you better find that diamond in the rough. We live by having small town kids that are just tough kids that just need development. So if you really want to go back to when I first took this job as an assistant coach, and our women's team they're just trying to find their way. They were trying to find their identity. They were trying to find who they are. The men's team had success. They were kind of already developed, but the women's team, they needed to find who they are. We had a lot of women that were just happy to be part of the program and just happy to be there. So I took it upon myself saying, no, I need to find women that want to win. I want to find women that are going to be tough, and I'm going to train the crap out of you, and you can't be afraid of it. I'm just that kind of guy. It's like, if you want to win, this is what we have to do. And if you're not on board with that, then don't be here. There's a lot of other programs, and they're great programs, but when you come into this program, you're signing on to saying, I want to be challenged. I'm going to be pushed. And if you don't have that mentality, if you don't have that just innate ability to push forward through some tough times, then it's probably not the best program for you, to be honest with you. So I had to find that type of women. I had to find girls that were just tough, talented, and knew they had a whole lot more in them, but they needed somebody to push them in the right direction. So we started there. That was kind of the process. And so now when kids come into it, I'm brutally honest with them. If you don't want to work hard, and if you don't have aspirations to be your best, then it's probably not the best program for you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, that's ultimately, that's kind of what I look for. And when recruiting, I'm just honest with kids, because I say this is a 4-year to 5-year commitment. And with today's age, with college kids and transfer and all that, I say, I'm not big into transfer. I'm going to be hard on you. There's going to be days you're not going to like me, and that's okay. That's part of developing. That's part of growing up as a human being and being a better person. It's like, you're going to have to face some adversity. If you want to see how good you can be, I'm going to challenge you. And so I'm pretty honest with those kids when they come in, their parents saying, don't come in thinking it's always going to be sunshine and rainbows. This ain't.
Yeah.
So you better be here for 4 to 5 years, and we're going to grind it out. It's going to be hard.
Yeah. Do you think, I was looking at your roster, and it looks like the core of your team is from Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, and a few other states littered in there as well. But you think geography has anything to play with that? Or, because when people think of the South, right? And not that you guys are on the Canadian border, but maybe you can talk to that a little bit as well, as I was impressed by that.
I mean, when you're in a small school like Division II, geography is a big part of it. It is hard. We get kids from West Virginia and some Florida, and we have a couple of California kids, but geographically, we're not well known, outside and across the United States. So we do get a majority of our kids here because, they have to drive to here, and their parents are invested into it. And so we don't have the resource to fly everybody from all over the country to bring them in for a visit. So we do have to stay within our means and stay in the Midwest so we can recruit those. But that's where we have to recruit very hard to find those diamonds in the rough. And I got to find the kids. I can make something of it. It might take me a year or two. But I'm going to develop you into what you're capable of, and you're going to be a program type kid. I mean, you can go look at Hunter Jones, who's a national champion in the heptathlon, decathlon, number 2 all time in the heptathlon indoors. Well, he's from Nickerson, Kansas. Nobody really heard of him. People recruiting him to play football, not really being a decathlete. It just took time. You can look at Emlyn Dearman from Stockton, Missouri. Like, nobody's ever heard of it. But she was one of my first recruits. And we go back to how I want to develop that toughness and that grit, and saying, this is the type of kid I want. I I built a program kind of around her. I went out and I watched her compete, and this girl at a meet did the 100 hurdles. She did the long jump, did the high jump, did the 4x4, and then she finished off and did the 4x8 for the team. I mean, come on. I mean, in one meet, you just know that's the type of kid I'm looking for. And she wasn't overly talented, but then she became a 2-time national champion, scored over 6,000 points in the HEP, and she kind of just gave us that type of mentality that we're just tougher than you and we're just going to be better. And so, yeah, we find kids like that, and we find those kids that not a lot of people are recruiting, but we know they're talented, and we just believe that we're great coaches and we get you where you need to be. You just need time. Erica Shama, I mean, 5'4" out of high school. Now she's a 5'11" high jumper, national champion. So all that fun stuff. I go on and on. I mean, I've got a million stories of small town kids that just need an opportunity that we saw, and we saw that just back to that trait of that mentality type attitude we're looking for. And we know if I get the right kid, I can push you. I can push you to that limit, and you'll keep responding, keep coming back.
Now, this isn't just one great season. Pitt State has been dominant. The men have now won 3 straight outdoor national titles. The women have been near the top every year. What is the key to sustaining that level of excellence?
Understanding expectation. I mean, that's what we've set. That's the standard. And it allows the kids to know not only that it's expectation, but we're capable. And I think that's what we try to pride ourselves. Like the past championships, all that tells you is like, we are capable of doing it. Doesn't mean we're going to do it this year, but we're capable. So we have to work just that much harder to get back to the top of the mountain. And we don't know where the ceiling is. You know, a lot of times we get to that mountain. There's that cliche of like, we get to the top, but we're kind of sometimes get the heads in the clouds, and you don't know what the true peak is. And then also you can't see what's below your knees. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants to be at the top of the mountain. So you better keep climbing. You better keep pushing yourself. And that's just part of the expectation. And we're not going to shy away from it. I tell them, say, that's just life. And, you get a promotion in a job, they're going to have higher expectations. You continue to get better, you're going to have higher expectations. So you better learn how to deal with it. And there's ups and downs, and we manage that with our kids of understanding that. But I think that's just the culture we've set, not only for the kids, for our coaching staff. And it is fun. I mean, you only get one shot to say, and you better enjoy it and take what you can, because it doesn't last forever.
Not at all. The kind of success doesn't just impact your program, it lifts the entire Pitt State athletic department. What do the national championships mean for Pitt State athletics as a whole?
Well, it's back to like, if we can do it, then you can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the belief we have. Like our women's basketball team with Coach Amanda Davis doing phenomenal right now. And our men's basketball team's getting better. Our football team's always been successful. Our baseball team's getting better. And I'm not saying it was our doing, but I think it allows other teams to say, we can do it here too. We are Pittsburgh State. Yeah, we're in the middle of Kansas, out in the middle of nowhere, but it doesn't mean we can't get great kids. And we do have something pretty special. If you ever come to town, Pitt State's got something pretty special. Just the community involvement, the people that support it, the administration. So it is fun. It's a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned that community support, the level of national dominance puts you in rare company. So how has the support from the university and community helped fuel your success?
Oh, phenomenal. I mean, they're a big part of it too. If we didn't have the support of facilities and resources, but that's a big part of it too. So the community is just as much involved as the university is, and with these kids and their success, and myself and our coaching staff.
Yeah. With all the success, the big question is, how do you stay on top? What's next for Pitt State track and field as you look ahead to the future?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I think you just got to stay true to who you are. Yeah, and I firmly believe that you can't be naive thinking we're going to win every year. That's just ignorance. I mean, there's no way that can happen. But what you can do is just be in the conversation, be relevant. And I think that's something we look at as like, just be in the conversation every year. And that means we're in the top 5. If we're in the conversation, then we're in the hunt, and anything can happen once you get there. And I would always bet on our kids how we mentally prepare them for the national championship. So that's kind of how we stay grounded, is just making sure we're always staying relevant and we're in the conversation at the end of the day. And if we can do that, then we're successful, and we're always going to give ourselves a chance to win it. And that's, I guess, how we kind of look at it, be in the conversation. And that's a motto that we live by. And when it comes down to, if you're in the conversation, it goes down to who wants to compete that day.
Yeah. So you don't need to give away the secret sauce, but mentally, because I think a lot of people think you just line up and run, but especially at the end of the year, probably not everybody's 100%. You got hamstrings and, calves and different things like that. So what are you guys doing at a high level to kind of prepare everyone mentally, especially when you get later in the season?
That's an ongoing challenge. It's every day of like, okay, how do you feel? Okay, we got to keep you out here. And making sure that everybody understands their job. So I guess the best way we look at it is like, we better be deep, because things are going to happen. Things are not going to go your way. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get dinged up. And if you don't have the depth for where it's next man up, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So I guess that's how we have plenty of injuries. Trust me. We held one of our top sprinters out from conference because he was still nursing a little bit of a hip flexor issue that we got game ready for national. But we were able to do that because we were deep enough for the conference. And so trust me, we've got more injuries than people know, but it's just got to be next man up, next woman up, and just who's ready to step in and take that place. So I guess how we mediate that and limit that is to make sure that we're deep enough in all areas to handle any misfortunes that might happen, because you can't go through an entire year and be healthy. That's not going to happen. So that's the hard thing. And then understanding what's important. When you have a little injury, saying, okay, the Pitt State invite is not a big deal for running. I don't really care if we win the Pitt State invite. I need you ready for conference and national meet. So what do we got to do to get you ready? And that's where our coaching staff, I think, really helps these kids out. It's not, don't be stressed out if you have a bad meet at the Rumble in the Jungle. Who cares? I don't really care if you win. We're developing you and getting you ready for the conference and national championship. So I think that's also a big part of how we keep our kids healthy, is if you miss a meet, it's not a big deal. We'll get you ready when it matters. That's our big thing. Is I know you'll run fast at conference. I know you'll run fast at nationals. If you have to sit here and you're not traveling and you need rest and you need a day off, I'm perfectly fine with it. And I think a lot of coaches are pressing, like, we have to hit qualifying mark. If I get you right at the indoor conference meet, you'll hit the qualifying mark. So no.
Well, you guys didn't do too shabby at the indoor conference meet either.
And so that goes back to your question. I think it kind of goes back to, like, don't press early in the season. Train, get them ready when it matters. And the competition will allow you to compete at a high level and do what you got to do.
All right, Coach. It's time for a segment called Game Time Decisions. Quick questions, quick answers, just like making the right call under pressure. You ready?
Sure.
All right. What was the biggest motivator for your team this year?
Backing it up. It's saying it wasn't a fluke.
Yeah. What would you say is your go-to pump-up song before a meet?
For me, since I'm older, AC/DC, gotta go Thunderstruck every time.
Every time. What is your favorite event to coach?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I'm gonna get in trouble for this one. The multis, to be honest with you. I enjoy the how it's different every time, the mental game, and how those kids are just tough as nails. I mean, those are great kids that do the heptathlon, decathlon.
What would you say is the most intense meet atmosphere that you've ever experienced?
In my AA conference, hands down.
Even more than the nationals?
Yes, because it is a team. It's a true team atmosphere, and that's where it gets intense and it's exciting. I say this, I love the nationals, but you come to our conference meet, there's a lot of energy because every team's fighting for that conference championship.
Makes sense. Best victory meal after a big win?
That's good. Normally the meet gets over so late, I'm just looking for anything I can put in my stomach. So I'd have to go a great hamburger and fries with a beer. You can't beat it.
One word to describe this championship season.
Challenging.
Hmm.
Challenging.
If you could coach any athlete, past or present, who would it be?
Maybe athlete on our team.
Oh,
Yeah.
anything. Go.
Oh no, yeah. I would love to coach. When you look at the Anna Hall in heptathlon, I mean, she is just phenomenal to watch and how she's able to do what she's doing. But just a heptathlon, any athlete in the heptathlon, fun.
Final question. What's one piece of sports gear you can't live without?
Sports gear. My tennis shoes. I've got to have the right tennis shoes and make sure my feet are comfortable.
Mm-hmm. All right, Coach Rutledge, this has been an incredible conversation. Congratulations again to you and your coaching staff and your athletes on this historic season. Before we go, what is one piece of advice that you would give to young athletes or coaches that are looking to build that same type of championship mindset?
Stay true to who you are and believe in yourself. That's the hardest thing is you're going to make mistakes. Don't ever be worried about making a mistake. You have to learn, and the only way you learn is by failure. I think how we coach, especially in track and field, we get so wrapped up into saying what the book is doing or what so-and-so is doing instead of step outside that box and see what you're capable of doing. And it might not be right to others, but if it's right to you and it works, then trust yourself. And that's the biggest thing I've learned is I've never been afraid of trying something new. If it doesn't work, okay. But you might stumble on something pretty special and find out that, hey man, this is the missing piece that I needed. So don't ever be afraid of trying something new and stepping outside that box and recruiting that one kid that not a lot of people are given opportunity to.
Such great insight. Thank you again, Coach. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in to Building a Champion. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your fellow track and field fans. Until next time, keep striving, keep pushing, and keep building champions.